York Stock Exchange's senior market strategist, Michael Reinking, joins us with a look back at the financial marketplace over the past year, including key market moments, industry trends, and more. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I really appreciate your time. Looking back on 2024, what were some of the most significant moments for the financial markets, and why were they important?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, and it's great to talk to your audience in Florida as we have such a big presence down there with nearly 100 listed companies in the state of Florida. So when I look back at 2024, I think the thing that jumps out to me the most is really the strength that we've seen in financial markets. We've seen for the second consecutive year, major U.S. indices are up double digits. You know, that S&P 500, that benchmark index that your audience is investing in, kind of in their 401ks, that index was up over 20% for the first time since 1996, right? And that's really interesting, kind of given the parallels that we have in the current environment and that technological revolution that happened back then, right? So there are four things that I think really have driven market activity this year. First is that AI revolution, as we've seen that capital spending and kind of business spending drive, in technology infrastructure, kind of driving a lot of the U.S. economic activity. It's helped to create jobs and help that U.S. economy remain, kind of very resilient despite one of the most aggressive tightening cycles by the Federal Reserve over the last 2 years to fight inflation. Now, we've also started to see the Federal Reserve pivot. They've started cutting rates in September. They've now cut rates by 75 basis points. That is going to help Main Street as you start to see interest rate charged on loans, moving lower for things like your mortgages or auto loans and credit cards. All right, and that is going to help. They're cutting rates into a strong economy, and that's going to help to preserve that environment. And then lastly, the election was a big catalyst, right? And as we removed some of the uncertainty around that, we are starting to see optimism really building, that we're going to see potentially lower taxes, a pro-growth, business-friendly environment, and that sets us up really well for 2025.
Very interesting. A lot going on. Okay, so let's go to 2025. As we look ahead, what are key economic indicators that you're watching?
Yeah, so I think there are kind of the two things that people are paying most attention to, right? It's inflation data and the employment picture. And from my perspective, that employment side of things is the most important because as people have jobs, right, they have shown a propensity to continue to spend, and that's so important for the U.S. economy as that consumer spending and domestic demand, is such a big driver of the of our economy. What I would also highlight is that we have to pay attention to what's coming from Washington, because that policy that is coming out of the incoming administration has the potential to shift both the employment backdrop and the inflation backdrop with what we've heard about immigration, and tariffs. So that's going to be something really to pay attention to next year. But once again, the backdrop does look pretty solid.
Okay, so let me ask you, how are markets responding, to that upcoming Fed decision you were talking about?
Yeah, so markets are widely expecting the Federal Reserve to cut rates by 25 basis points, but there is some expectation that we're going to see a little bit of a shift in tone coming from the committee, suggesting that the pace of rate cuts going forward is going to slow down, right? As we've started to see. Inflation, the disinflationary process has stalled out a little bit. So, they're searching for this neutral rate as they've been removing restrictiveness, and they're just going to start to move a little bit more cautiously as we head into the new year.
Gotcha. Fascinating conversation this morning, Michael. I really appreciate your time. Where can I send folks to learn some more information?
Yeah, so we publish our daily market commentary on the NYSE.com. You can check that out in the pre-market or in the middle of the day. And then I also have a podcast that is released every Friday. It's on the Inside the Ice House podcast feed. It's called Market Storylines, and it's a couple minutes where I talk about kind of the key catalysts that are driving financial markets.
Very interesting. I have to take a look at it. Michael Reinking, we appreciate your time this morning. And guys, if you want to catch this segment again or others like it, all you have to do is head over to First Coast News Plus.